Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The tension in Washington could be sliced with a knife right now, and for good reason. The Commanders fanbase has been through enough emotional whiplash to last a full season, and we're barely halfway there. Every week feels like a new test of faith, and just when things seem like they can't get any more chaotic, the football gods throw another curveball their way. The latest blow came when rookie sensation Jayden Daniels, the shining beacon of hope for a franchise desperate for stability, limped off the field in Week 7 against the Dallas Cowboys. You could feel the air being sucked out of the stadium. Every fan watching from home or in the stands felt their heart drop. Daniels was listed as questionable at first, but when he didn't return after halftime, the anxiety started to spread like wildfire. A hamstring injury, those dreaded words that can derail a quarterback's rhythm, his mobility, and maybe even a team's entire offensive identity. When Daniels headed to the locker room for evaluation, the silence in the Commanders section was deafening. This wasn't just another player going down. This was the guy, the franchise quarterback, the player who had already shown flashes of brilliance that made people believe maybe, just maybe, this team could turn the corner. But here we were again, staring down the barrel of another injury headline in a season that's already been overflowing with them. Reports after the game confirmed that Daniels would undergo an MRI, and that became the new buzzword in Washington sports radio, MRI. Fans waited all night for the results, refreshing their feeds, listening for whispers, praying it wasn't as bad as it looked. The news that came out of Dan Quinn's press conference the next day finally offered something resembling hope. The tests, he said, revealed that Jayden's hamstring issue was not considered long-term. That statement alone felt like a breath of fresh air. For once, the Commanders got a break, sort of. Quinn didn't go as far as to say Daniels would be ready for Week 8's Monday Night Football clash against the Kansas City Chiefs, but he did confirm that things weren't as catastrophic as many had feared. It was the kind of update fans could cling to, something positive to hold on to amid a storm of setbacks and uncertainty. Because make no mistake about it, the Commanders are deep in a storm. Dorrance Armstrong Jr., the team's breakout defensive end and one of the few bright spots on the defensive side this year, is out for the season with a knee injury. That alone would be a gut punch. Add that to the list of offensive linemen already playing through pain, a banged-up receiving core, and a defense that's looked increasingly gassed, and it's clear that Washington is running on fumes. Losing Daniels, even for 1 or 2 games, could push this already fragile structure to the brink. But there's something about Jayden Daniels that's hard to quantify with numbers or stats. It's his energy, his presence, his confidence in the pocket even when chaos swirls around him. He's competitive to his core, and Quinn mentioned that Daniels actually wanted to go back into the game against Dallas despite the injury. That tells you everything you need to know about this kid. He's wired differently. He's the type of quarterback who doesn't just play for numbers. He plays for pride, for his team, and for the city that's already fallen in love with him. But the coaching staff wasn't having it. They knew better than to let emotion override caution. One wrong step, one early return, and a minor hamstring tweak can turn into a season-ending nightmare. They had to protect him, even from himself. Now, all eyes are on practice this week. Fans and reporters alike will be scanning every video clip, every insider tweet, every slow-motion shot of Daniels jogging or stretching. That will tell the real story. If he's limited or sitting out entirely, it's almost certain we'll see Marcus Mariota under center against Kansas City. And that's where things start to get dicey. Mariota is a serviceable veteran, sure, but asking him to go into Arrowhead Stadium, under the primetime lights, and outduel Patrick Mahomes? That's a tall order for anyone, let alone a backup stepping into a lineup that's already limping into the fight. The Commanders' offense without Daniels just doesn't carry the same punch. He brings an unpredictability, a spark, that makes defenses second-guess themselves. His ability to extend plays, to make magic happen when the pocket collapses, is what's kept Washington competitive in games they probably shouldn't have been in. Mariota is mobile, but he doesn't have the same burst or instinctive flair that Daniels has brought to the field. If Daniels can't go, expect a heavier reliance on the running game, something that's been inconsistent at best this season. And if that sputters, the Commanders could find themselves in another uphill battle before halftime. Meanwhile, The defense faces its own mountain to climb. Losing Armstrong is brutal, not just because of his production, but because of what he represents in the locker room. He was finally coming into his own, bringing relentless pressure off the edge and helping set the tone for the entire defensive front. Without him, the Commanders struggled to generate any consistent heat on Dak Prescott last week, and that's a worrying sign with Mahomes up next. Dan Quinn is going to have to dig deep into his bag of tricks, rotations, blitz packages, maybe even some unconventional alignments to compensate for that loss. But let's take a step back for a second. Yes, the injuries are piling up. Yes, the schedule ahead is brutal. But there's something about the way this Commanders team keeps hanging around that deserves some credit. Even with all the adversity, they've shown fight. They've shown flashes of the identity Quinn is trying to build, a tough, no excuses, resilient group that doesn't back down. And that starts with Daniels. His presence on and off the field has already changed the culture. You can feel it in the way his teammates talk about him, the way the fans rally around him, the way even opposing defenses respect him. That's not something you can fake. That's leadership. If this hamstring issue really is minor, then maybe this is just the wake-up call the team needed. Maybe sitting Daniels for a game, if it comes to that, forces others to step up. Maybe it gives the offensive line a week to regroup, the receivers a week to reset, and the defense a reason to rally together. Sometimes adversity, as cliché as it sounds, can be the spark that reignites a struggling team. And if Daniels can come back healthy, fully charged, for the stretch run of the season, this early turbulence might just make the Commanders stronger in the long run. Still, there's no sugarcoating how fragile this moment feels. The Commanders sit at 3-4, teetering on the edge of another lost season. A loss to the Chiefs would drop them to 3-5 at the midway point, a record that screams mediocrity, but doesn't necessarily reflect the heart this team has shown. The problem is that heart doesn't always translate into wins, and in the NFL, wins are the only currency that matters. For Quinn, that reality is pressing. He's trying to instill belief, trying to hold the locker room together while also navigating a storm of injuries that would cripple most teams. And for Daniels, this might be his first real test of patience as a professional athlete. There's no doubt he's itching to get back out there. That's what competitors do. But sometimes, the hardest part of being great isn't playing through pain. It's knowing when not to play. If Daniels rushes back and aggravates that hamstring, it could haunt him and the team for months. If he takes a week off, heals properly, and returns strong, then maybe this whole scare becomes just another chapter in his early NFL journey, a learning experience that shapes his career for the better. For now, Washington holds its breath. The MRI results gave them hope, but hope doesn't score touchdowns. The Commanders have to find a way to survive, to steady the ship, and to keep the season alive until their quarterback is ready to reclaim the huddle. Fans know how this franchise has been snake-bitten in the past. They've seen promising seasons unravel too many times to count. But this time feels different, not because it's easier, but because Daniels gives them something real to believe in. He's not just another name on the injury report. He's the future. And as long as that future remains intact, so does the dream that Washington can finally, one day, rise above the chaos that seems to follow it everywhere. In the end, maybe this week will be remembered not for the injury, but for the response. Maybe this is the moment the Commanders prove they're more than just one player. Maybe it's the moment Jayden Daniels learns what it means to lead even when you're not on the field. And maybe, just maybe, it's the start of a new chapter where resilience finally outshines the bad luck that has haunted this franchise for so long. Because if Washington has taught us anything, it's that hope never dies easily in the nation's capital. It just waits for the next Sunday to be reborn. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. There's a storm brewing in Washington, and it looks like the epicenter is none other than Jayden Daniels. Sources close to the team have been whispering about an explosive incident in the Commanders' locker room that has everyone talking. According to insiders, Daniels, the young quarterback whose talent has drawn eyes across the league, reached a breaking point and completely lost his composure, letting out a torrent of frustration that left his teammates stunned. "I'm done pretending everything is fine here," Daniels reportedly shouted, slamming his helmet down with a force that shook the nearby lockers. This isn't the type of moment that happens in isolation. There's a growing tension within the Commanders' locker room, a pressure cooker of unmet expectations, bruised egos, and simmering dissatisfaction that now appears to have boiled over. People familiar with the team's inner workings describe Daniels as someone who has always been fiercely competitive and deeply invested in winning. But over the past few weeks, his patience has been tested like never before. Sources say that there were multiple confrontations with coaching staff and teammates behind closed doors before this outburst, moments that weren't publicized but set the stage for what insiders are calling a locker room meltdown. What makes this episode particularly alarming is the timing. The Commanders are at a pivotal point in the season where cohesion is critical, and for the leader of the offense to openly express this level of frustration, it sends a shockwave through the locker room and the organization. The words Daniels used reportedly cut deep, a raw expression of disillusionment with both the team's culture and its current trajectory, suggesting that his patience has reached its absolute limit. Sources tell us that this incident wasn't a quiet, fleeting argument. Teammates described the scene as tense and electric, with Daniels pacing back and forth, gesturing emphatically, and speaking in a tone that left no doubt about the depth of his frustration. One player reportedly muttered to a colleague, "I've never seen him like this before," highlighting just how extraordinary and out of character this display was. Even veterans who have weathered tough losses and locker room disagreements admit that Daniels' intensity in this moment was next level, signaling not just a personal breaking point, but a broader commentary on the state of the Commanders' organization. The quarterback's words, loaded with raw honesty and exasperation, appear to have struck a chord with some teammates who have quietly shared their own frustrations, although others were reportedly taken aback by the sheer volume of emotion Daniels brought to the room. This incident also raises questions about the leadership and coaching dynamics within Washington. The Commanders, like many teams, face the delicate balance of managing talent while maintaining morale, and a fiery confrontation like this exposes cracks that may have been growing beneath the surface. According to insiders, there have been ongoing discussions about whether the coaching staff has adequately addressed the concerns and ambitions of their quarterback, particularly a young player with immense potential and a need for consistent support and guidance. Daniels' eruption may be a symptom of larger organizational issues, highlighting a disconnect between player expectations and team management strategies. Rumors suggest that discussions with the coaching staff immediately following the outburst were tense, with both sides reportedly acknowledging the seriousness of the situation while also trying to find a path forward. Fans are already buzzing online, dissecting every reported detail of the event, speculating about the possible fallout, and debating what this might mean for the Commanders' season. Social media posts range from sympathetic takes highlighting Daniels' passion and leadership to critical comments questioning whether he can handle the pressures of leading a team in turmoil. Some commentators suggest this could be a wake-up call for the entire franchise, a moment where internal tensions are brought into the open, forcing conversations about accountability, performance, and the culture within the organization. Others hint at the possibility that this incident could influence trade discussions, free agency considerations, or even coaching decisions if the unrest persists. Every rumor, every snippet of insider information is being analyzed with the intensity of a playoff game, reflecting how significant this locker room moment has become in the eyes of fans and analysts alike. While the long-term impact remains uncertain, those close to the team insist that Daniels' outburst is more than just a moment of anger. It's a statement of intent. Sources describe him as someone unwilling to compromise on excellence, unwilling to pretend that mediocrity or dysfunction is acceptable. The phrase, "done pretending everything is fine," has become a rallying cry in whispers among teammates, some of whom reportedly feel validated by his honesty, even if it was delivered explosively. There's a sense that this could mark a turning point, a moment when pent-up frustrations are finally aired, and the Commanders are forced to confront the realities they may have been avoiding. However, there is also an undercurrent of concern that if unresolved, this could deepen divisions rather than heal them, setting the stage for further tension as the season progresses. The timing, the intensity, and the context all converge to make this incident an unavoidable talking point. Analysts are already drawing parallels to other high-profile locker room confrontations in NFL history, where a player's outburst either sparked a cultural reset or signaled deeper, enduring issues. For Washington, the question now is how they respond. Whether this is the moment that galvanizes the team around a shared vision, or whether it becomes a symbol of deeper, unaddressed problems. Every decision made in the coming days, from media statements to internal meetings, will be scrutinized for hints about the team's internal climate and their quarterback's state of mind. One thing is clear. When a player of Daniels' caliber reaches this level of frustration, it reverberates far beyond the locker room walls, affecting fans, analysts, and rival teams alike. As the story develops, insiders stress that Daniels remains committed to the game, committed to winning, and committed to the Commanders, but not at the expense of ignoring what he sees as systemic issues within the team. The intensity of his emotions is a reflection of high standards, a refusal to settle for anything less than excellence, and a candid acknowledgement that the current environment has significant shortcomings. Rumors suggest that behind the scenes, private conversations are ongoing, with leadership and key players working to address the concerns Daniels raised, but the pressure is palpable. This is not just a fleeting moment of locker room drama. It's a potential inflection point for the team's identity, performance, and cohesion moving forward. In short, Jayden Daniels' explosive moment is more than a headline. It's a lens into the inner workings of a team at a crossroads. Whether it's the start of a cultural overhaul, a signal to the organization to adapt and respond, or a sign of deeper turbulence, it's a story that will continue to capture attention in the weeks ahead. For now, the Commanders face the challenge of channeling this moment into something constructive, addressing frustrations without letting them fester, and ensuring that the talent and ambition Daniels embodies are matched by a supportive and functional team environment. Every eye in the league is on Washington now, not just for the on-field performance, but for how the Commanders navigate the aftermath of a quarterback who refused to stay silent, who made it abundantly clear that the status quo is no longer acceptable. As whispers turn into conversations and conversations into action, one thing is certain. The Commanders' locker room will never be the same again, and Jayden Daniels has left an indelible mark on the team's narrative that will be felt for the rest of the season. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.